We are on a mission to save and revitalize independent pharmacy.
On the Catalyst Pharmacy podcast, you'll get actionable business advice.
Hear stories from industry leaders.
And share a laugh or two with us.
Fuel your passion for pharmacy.
One conversation at a time.
Hello, Parker.
Welcome, Parker.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for having me.
So I think this is our first official introduction to each other. So hi, I'm Marsha Bivins with PioneerRx.
Jeff Key with PioneerRx.
Yep.
Pleasure to meet both of
And
you.
you are Parker Baro.
Baro. It's a very bougie name. Are your parents rich?
Well, he spent 2 years in London.
Oh, yeah. I saw the thing. Yep, definitely rich. Definitely rich. 2 years in London. Okay. All right, Parker. We got you figured out already. So
you have my
seems
number.
like from your background you turned out okay after all. So we'll let you slide there.
Despite everything.
So one, Jeff loves a good dad joke. Do you know any good dad jokes?
Oh goodness. I mean, yes, but
The ones he can think of aren't appropriate. Is that what you're trying to say?
what? The ones that I can think of aren't relevant.
Parker. Aren't relevant. That's very political. Very good.
All right. Well,
Parker's not only has rich parents, but headed for politics. We are awesome.
Oh man, I'm getting roasted already. It's great.
So I asked, I don't know if you played much with ChatGPT. It's amazing. I'm using 4. You should
it's
be playing
me,
all over
Jeff's
the place.
best friend.
So
I've
I
been
asked
replaced.
ChatGPT, write a dad joke about a man named Parker.
Oh no.
boy.
So why did Parker always find a great spot at the picnic? Because he had a natural ability to Parker.
Oh.
Now you are a relevant dad joke.
Yeah.
And I'm that's one that I usually go to whenever I have a parking job I'm not particularly proud of. I say, well, you really can't blame me. I'm a naturally bad parker.
Oh, there it is.
Very good. I like you already.
All right, so Parker, tell us about you. How did you get started in pharmacy? I'm not gonna lie, this is a compliment. You look like a child.
I've gotten that before. Most folks are say, what are you?
Hers
17,
is meaner than
18?
mine. Just saying. Okay, go ahead.
No, it's not.
Hey, he'll respect that in like 20 years when he
in 20 years, you're gonna respect
20.
it so much.
Exactly. And I've already kind of gotten into that mindset of, listen, if I'm looking 17 or 18 at 24, that's I'll take
That's
it.
the
I'll
game.
ride that all the way to 30 and hopefully beyond. So
we have a girl who works for us. Her name's Jenny Rowe. She's diminished in stature as well as looks really young like you. And even in her late 20s, we go to a restaurant we hadn't been before and they'd give her the kids menu.
We were in our 20s when this was happening to her, one. And number two, when we were in our 20s, when Jenny and I were in our 20s, because you were not in your 20s at that time.
It's not very nice either.
Just calling it like
I
it
feel
is,
targeted.
being honest. Abercrombie was the big thing. So yeah, we're wearing and rocking Abercrombie. And so yeah, she probably did look like a 13, 14-year-old kid at that time. So
All right, let's get back to
close
Parker.
age you. Yes.
All right.
So let's get back to our
So how'd you get where you are?
So really it was kind of a little bit of a comedy of errors. You all kind of started mid-COVID where we're all kind of the great stories seem to. And I've been out of work for a little bit. I used to work for Disney.
I've been to Disney.
so-
It's a small world.
It's a small world, definitely. Even smaller when nobody's going.
Okay.
But I'm a health sciences major, and so I really wanted to get into the health space and kind of start to explore the medical area. And sure enough, I started at one of the chain stores. I started in a call center, and it's all right. It's not great, but it got my foot in the door.
So you are a health scientist, not a pharmacist, in a call center.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was in a call center, and it wasn't ideal. One of these big companies and taking calls all day from a lot of angry people who I'm not able to help. It's just not really where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
So as soon as I earned my my registered pharmacist technician certificate, I went searching and I ended up at a independent pharmacy downtown Orlando.
Okay.
and it's completely different. And I get to do basically everything I love about pharmacy and about healthcare in general.
Nice.
And I don't have to, answer phone calls from angry people all day, which is just another great bonus.
Yes, that's cool.
So you lived in London for 2 years. I want to dive into that because that's one of my favorite places to travel. So when did you live in London and what took your parents there?
He says child. It's a child.
Yes. And
This was back in 2010 to 2012. I got to be there for some really, really cool moments. We were there for the royal wedding. We were there for the Olympics in 2012.
Oh, wow.
There for the Jubilee, the Queen's, I believe, 60th anniversary on the throne. So we got to see a lot of cool stuff there. And
Sounds
it was
like
all
it.
because my dad got transferred there. He works for Disney Cruise Line, and one of their offices is over there.
Okay. Is he still working with the Disney Cruise Line?
He is, yeah. And, over COVID, that was a little bit of a,
Mhm.
not for him, it was a really busy time for the company, not very busy.
Yeah.
But kind of coming back off of that, he's been a busy guy. So
Oh gosh, he wasn't on any of the cruises that got stranded because there was COVID on the ship, was he?
thankfully not. No, he's shoreside. We do every once in a while go on a cruise. That's kind of my favorite perk of his job is to be able to tag along and gallivant across the ship for
Gallivant. Did you see that? That was a Disney play. That was very good, Parker. That's good.
I promise I'm not being paid by Disney, but if they're open to it,
Hey, can it hurt? Can it hurt? Nothing wrong with
Last
that.
time we were there, my wife did get us a backlot tour of Disney World. It was great.
Oh yeah, you came back with some real interesting stories.
Yeah, a lot of interesting stuff. But this
So-
podcast is not about that.
No.
So tell us, tell us what all's going on at the pharmacy there in Orlando.
yeah, absolutely. So recently, a lot of our focus has been on COVID-19 vaccines. I'm sure, like a lot of folks, COVID-19 vaccines, testing and treatment. We're kind of winding down from that now, as we're kind of seeing the end come with the end of the emergency declaration, and probably an end to insurance paying for those at-home
Yeah.
COVID tests. We're kind of anticipating maybe a little bit of a wind down of that.
Okay.
But for a long time, for the longest time, that was my role, essentially, was dealing with medical billing.
Is everybody thinking that there seems to be a mixed feelings about whether or not the insurance companies are going to cut off the test right at the day of the emergency deal ends? Certainly I think Medicare is paying for it for longer. I don't know what that data is right offhand, but I know they're doing it longer.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, one of the things we've kind of been wanting a little bit more is maybe some information. So a little bit of a communication from some of these insurance companies. We've gotten the 50th fax, in a month about the rejections and about, overrides. But we
Yeah.
still haven't really gotten that much information about what the end of this emergency declaration is going to look like, what's going to be changing.
Right.
We haven't gotten much of that from the companies or it seems the federal government as well. So we're waiting on that. We're hoping to get some of that. But it's going to be kind of an interesting time, just as we start to transition from this,
Yep.
really well federally funded and sometimes mandated spending to one where it's just like pre-COVID, where insurance companies are going to get to pick and choose what they cover.
Yeah, one of the big things I've worried about is a lot of independents have expanded their delivery during this time, and somewhat reasonably, I don't want to say sloppily, probably more like it should be, not how the insurance company wants it to be, and especially related to signatures. And that's going to be the day after that, they're going to have signatures and everything. And they're going to have to be sending people cards or there have to be how they work that. We're going to try to work that into some type of messaging thing to support it. But I think that's
Definitely.
a place where a lot of people might get in trouble. They're not kind of really on top of their game.
Yeah, 100%. And especially since we've had 2 or 3 years to just hit the impacted by COVID-19 button and just kind of skip past that whole signature step. We've been slowly kind of just forcing ourselves to really get in that habit of collecting those signatures. But we have a few patients who are regulars who are still nervous about entering the pharmacy. They don't want to be touching.
Right.
They don't want to be interacting face to face. And
Yeah.
these are older folks who are sometimes very sick. So it would be very nice if we had an option for some of those folks. But, considering that the end is coming and we still haven't heard much about it. My suspicions is that we're probably going to lose that unless it's brought up and somebody makes a stink about it, which I definitely hope that happens.
Yeah. Huh.
Yes. And how many tests do you probably do still in a day or in a week?
We've almost totally seen the end of in-store testing. Almost everybody is doing those at-home COVID tests.
Yeah.
But a lot of our patients are consistently asking us if they can have more of these tests. And a lot of them are older folks who want to make sure that they're safe before they're going out, before they're going to these, crowded places. But even younger folks, are still wanting them. I suspect some of them probably want to stock up a little bit before the cow runs dry, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's still a very valuable service for a lot of people.
Yeah.
We're probably doing, I think, at least 200 a week, 200 at-home COVID test kits a week, across 8 per person, maybe. Oh man, I shouldn't have brought up the math, but you can kind of imagine how big of a revenue stream that is, both for us and also how helpful it is for our patients.
We worry about any risk factor of stocking those at the end. That hey, we're gonna get if you're moving through the ordering and moving through that many time that you're gonna get stuck with.
Definitely, 100%. We in the very beginning we were ordering these things at maybe 300 at a time, because that was all you could get them at, and we had that happen where we were stuck before it really became popular to bill insurance for these things. We were stuck with 300 extra test kits for the longest time. And thankfully, once it was available to bill insurance and to give it a $0 copay, we were able to get rid of all of them. We've learned from that mistake. We're ordering in a much, much smaller quantity now, and we're running out a lot just because we're anticipating that end.
Yep.
We don't want to be stuck with a whole bunch of them.
So, do you think you're going to see another wave this in cold and flu season in the fall again?
It'll definitely be very interesting. One of the things I think has impacted the recent kind of optics of the COVID pandemic has been the limitation of reporting.
Right.
People are usually doing these self-test kits.
So they're not reporting them.
Yep,
that's true.
Exactly like they're supposed to. So when these surges do happen, and we tend to experience them at the pharmacy, we find that we're doing a lot more vaccinations, and we're doing a lot more, what's the word? Sometimes testing, but really doing a lot more of the therapeutics. And when we see those surges in the pharmacy, we're not really seeing them in the data. We really seem to be missing out on a large portion of these cases. So whether a new wave will necessarily bring a lot of new business, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But certainly we want to be ready if that happens. And I think, limiting the COVID-19 emergency is definitely going to reduce our preparedness just a little bit. We're not going to have as much on hand.
Yep. Huh. Well, what's next? So been really busy the last couple of years with COVID and vaccinations and that kind of thing. So as we plan that next piece, and a matter of fact, a lot about independent pharmacy is just figuring out the next way to stay in business, right? And I don't know that that's unlike any kind of small business in America today, right? You're kind of figuring out how trends change and things like that. Probably 75% of prescriptions in the pharmacy you're losing money on. So you're trying to look at, hey, how do I, what's the next thing? What are you guys thinking about for?
Yeah, so I have to give, fantastic credit to my pharmacist and the owner of our pharmacy, Craig. He has been constantly throughout. He has never sort of rested on the laurels. He's always kind of foreseen an end to this. And he's been exploring this whole time different revenue streams. COVID was fantastic. It gave us a lot of room to kind of experiment and to grow into different segments. We did a little bit of long-term care. We did a little bit of durable medical equipment. We started to work a little bit on. What we really found success in, and this is going to be another trend, I'm sure, is weight loss, semaglutide and Ozempic and things like that. We've partnered with a compounding pharmacy here in Florida who we found fantastic success with. We are having huge amounts of patients who are calling and being driven to our pharmacy because we're one of the only ones who were able to get the semaglutide.
How did the compounding go? I mean, I understand that the partnership with the compounding farm, did that go with the weight loss, or was that just and that too?
This was, so really our weight loss sort of program was more centered on the rise in the popularity of the semaglutide.
Okay.
So when we found that we were able to source the semaglutide, we found that we were able to actually get it from somebody in Florida on a consistent basis. That's when we really started to kind of branch into this whole weight loss sort of segment.
Okay.
Once we were able to find that, and once we had it in stock, people came. We had built it, and we had people.
But you're not getting that from the compounder. The relation with the compounder is something else.
So we're sourcing the medication from the compounder.
Interesting.
And we're able to.
Is it a closed shop compounding pharmacy or?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yes.
But it's not a compounded drug. You just happen to be able to get it from them.
So we are. So from how it's been explained to me, at least, because it's on the FDA shortlist, because it's not available, to the, it's shorter in a lot of places. Some compounded pharmacies are able to get special permission to compound to help address some of the shortage.
Interesting.
Because of that, we are able to go ahead and service some of them. Now, that's not going to last forever.
Right.
At some point, the Ozempic folks are going to say, hey, it's time to stop because we're able to sell this now. But certainly while we're able to go ahead and service those patients, we've had a lot of success in kind of helping them.
And that's an injectable, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Yeah, that's an injectable. So, very strict in terms of kind of the guidelines around dispensing and things like that. But for us, it's slap a label on it and we're able to go ahead and dispense it.
So a lot of the independents haven't been carrying that because the differential between what it cost them and what the insurance paying was small. I mean, of course, the cash business was good. But are y'all finding that case with the compounded version?
We are able to get some brand name Ozempic. We reserve all of our type 2 diabetes patients. We will usually reserve Ozempic for them. Just that because usually their insurance will pay for it and is willing to pay for it. We've actually been fine in terms of reimbursement. We've had a little bit of success in that brand name Ozempic. But for all of our weight loss, all of our patients on the compounded semaglutide, that's all been cash business.
Interesting.
And we're able to offer a pretty competitive price, which is why I think people are a little bit more driven to come in and get it from us just because we're not charging Ozempic prices. We're able to be a little bit cheaper there. Have
you thought about doing a full weight loss program? So, like you're seeing online, $100 and $200, $300 a month where you're doing counseling and that has a relationship with a telehealth doctor and all that kind of stuff?
It's definitely, something that we are interested in. Right now, what we're working with is we have a doctor who's in our building, who we work very, very closely with, who's board certified in weight loss management. And so we referred a lot of our patients to him, and we do have a little bit of a relationship there between the pharmacy and this prescriber, where the prescriber says, hey, this pharmacy here has compounded, kind of explains the risks, the benefits. And usually because we're the closest ones with the best prices, all of his patients tend to just come walk right across the walkway and come get it from us.
It's crazy. You wonder what the long term, you're seeing people get on it for weight loss, losing 15, 20, whatever pounds. But when they get off of it, they just gain it right back because they're hungry again. So, are we thinking this is something they're just going to be on, hey, I'm just going to give myself an injection once a month for the rest of my life? Is that
and that's the question, right? What is going to be the long-term effects of this? Is there an effective strategy to use Ozempic, use semaglutide to promote this long-term weight loss? Right now, the biggest kind of counseling my pharmacist is doing is saying, hey, take this time where you have this limited appetite, the suppressed appetite, take it to really build some of those good, healthy habits. Ones that kind of revolve around distracting yourself, finding other sources of joy and comfort other than food. Because as soon as, and we're very upfront about this, as soon as you stop taking
you're going to be hungry again.
It's going to go away.
And really hungry.
Right. And unless you've built up those healthy habits, you can easily fall right back into your old eating habits and gain it all right back. So it's always been hey, look, this is not a miracle drug. This is not going to, make you lose 15 pounds and stop taking it. And then you're good
this
for
is just the next diet.
Well, it's just it's the next diet fad because it's.
Yeah, because once you get off the diet fad, you're back.
Well, I say diet fad tongue in cheek because usually when somebody's like, oh, this is the new way of things. And then it's like, a bunch of people jump on board and then it's like it causes problems for everybody else. And then probably 2 years from now, you're going to see, hey, anybody that did this diet fad these are the repercussions and these are the things that happen to them and these were the side effects.
Yeah, you worry about long-term effects.
That's
sure.
the big thing. Like what was the guy that just Atkins And it was like bacon and something else. And it's like, that guy died of a heart attack.
Oh gosh. No, but you're absolutely right. You know, we wonder what are the long-term effects going to be?
Yeah.
Of course, you know, we're hoping that because this has been a type 2 diabetes medication and that a lot of folks have found success sort of in this long-term use of Ozempic for diabetes, that hopefully that safety profile is going to translate over to the weight loss, people who are using it for weight loss. But of course, you never know. You know, it's kind of up in the air. What we really, really hope for, what we're really kind of encouraged by, is the lack of some of these more intense side effects that we had with some of the older generations of weight loss supplements, phentermine and things like that, where you had really kind of issues with the heart, you know, or discomfort kind of surrounding the heart. We're seeing a lot less of that with Ozempic. Most of those side effects are a little bit more GI related.
Yeah.
But still, like you said, the long-term effects of it in terms of weight loss are still pretty kind of up in the air.
Yeah, it's almost like you need to work with that doctor and create like, okay, you want to do this weight loss plan, then this is what we're going to do. So first, we're going to give you this, you're going to do this injection, but it's only going to be for this amount of time. During this time, we've got to help you create better habits and get your mindset into these habits and be conscious about this. And then be prepared that when we stop doing the injections, you've got to stay in this mentality of eating right, walking every day, you know, some kind of physical activity. It's like almost, hey, before you get on this, here's the actual path that you need to be on.
Yeah. And that's what I was talking about, that weight loss program.
Right.
You know, where you're paying so much a month and saying, hey guys, you know, we'll dispense this for you. But when you get off of it, you're going to get it all back. And so we do have this program. It's X dollars a month. And we work with you on a diet, you know, and really work on thinking about changing habits. And that's, you know, habits are what you're trying to form, right? And if you can keep a habit and figure out how to work your way through your hunger. So I think there's huge opportunity there.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, you know, that's one of the reasons we really like working with this this doctor who works in our building, who's certified aboard weight loss management, because he does a very great job of kind of explaining all these things. You know, it seemed like recently doctors have taken a little bit of a step back when it comes to some prescriptions in terms of explaining fully. They've left a little bit of that role up to the pharmacist, which is fine. But of course, you miss important details, and sometimes there's communication issues where we don't exactly know what you told the patient. So being able to work so closely with the doctor helps immensely.
I think there's still lots of doctors who are like, here it is, take it for your health. They're not really explaining it. Here's the 4-page sheet the nurse gives you. Yeah. You know, and not even that, the doctor's gone. Nurse comes in, doctor says you need this, this, and this. Here's your scripts. Here's the printout description of what you got to do, you know.
Well, like, so that's actually interesting when you talk about, you know, doctor prescribes something and then the patient just comes straight to you to get it filled. So, you know, I talk to my grandmother daily and she went in for her point. I do. Who doesn't? You meet her, you love her. She's a feisty thing. Every time I talk to her and it's like, if she's in her early to mid 80s, not on any medication whatsoever.
Wow.
Anytime the doctor does try to prescribe her medication and go, well, your blood pressure's a little high, I want to start giving you this medication, she's like, nope, not going to do it. And then she starts reevaluating the things that she's eating and everything, and she adjusts. And then she goes back and he's like, okay, well, you did it without medication. Cool. Keep doing it. Yeah. And it's like, if most people can understand that and really sit down and think, that would take care of their weight loss. That would take care of so many other health issues. Yeah. But sometimes for some patients, they're like, cool, doctor says this, pills
it's the same way. Some people I need to lose weight, I'm going to go inject myself in the stomach.
Right.
Absolutely. And that's, you know, and that's a fantastic, I think a lot of doctors, you know, and I hate to try to imagine what I would be like if I was a doctor, because that's not at all, you know, where I am. But I think if you look at a patient who's in their 80s, who's taking no medication, has a slightly high blood pressure, you say, well, of course I can prescribe you this high blood pressure. That's going to be no problem.
Right.
But there are ways sometimes where if you have a patient who is very on top of their health, is very in tune to what they're eating and to kind of how they're managing themselves, you can really go and have a lot of success with these lifestyle sort of modifications.
And I understand that doctors have a lot of a lot of demands as far as what they're expected to record on the patient and turn in and bill for.
Well, and there's a lot.
And they've got to get through multiple patients in the day. And so asking doctors to be more, hey, let's try plan A, which is, you want to try plan A, which is let's look at your diet and adjust, or do you want to go straight to the pill?
Yeah.
I really don't want to do the pill. Let's try working on your health.
So in people's defense,
Oh, yeah.
there are some genetic things that are just their genetics. And no
Right,
matter what
but
their
with, like-
diet or whatever, this is going to be their problem.
But with genomic testing, all that stuff is like coming out. Like 23andMe tells me that, hey, I'm potential celiac and I'm also potential diabetic.
What about the maniac? You see?
That's not
Just the
tested
maniac.
yet.
No.
But I bet
No.
yours is off the
You
charts.
think?
Yeah.
No, but I think those are both fantastic points. For some patients, that's just going to be it. You're going to have to take a medication at some point.
Yep.
Right.
But I think also if you're a doctor, what is my patient going to be more compliant on? What are they more likely to be compliant on? A pill that they take every day,
Diet, yeah.
or diet, exercise, and all of these other things? I think if you're a doctor,
Yep.
you're going to say, well, of course they're going to be more compliant on these. But for people like your grandmother, it's probably for the best that they don't actually start medication.
Yeah. Well, that's like you had a quote.
You.
Yes, you. There was this quote that Jeff heard, and you'll remember it once I say it, and I'm probably going to horribly butcher it, by the way, so apology up front.
It's good.
But it was
Set a low expectation. I like that.
I'm really good at that. Is take your food as medicine, or you'll be taking your medicine as food.
I think you nailed it. Actually,
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
That was the Apple.
Come on,
Uh,
get there.
Yeah.
Get there quicker.
It was Steve Jobs.
Okay, very good.
That's them.
And the guy who's deceased now,
Yeah, but who ended up taking his.
and that went dark.
No, but that's right. He was saying that when he had cancer. He was saying that as part of, he was taking so much medicine as food in those later times, and feels like he didn't, typical guy building as an entrepreneur. I'm sure there's many a pizza, and I imagine his diet was horrible.
Mhm.
All right, so
Well, when
let's
you
talk
work like
about
that,
the really big topic right now for us, especially besides AI. I'm gonna pause him there, but like medical billing, like how's that experience been for you? And we're working with we own a medical biller now.
Yes, and not to get too ahead of myself, but the medical biller you own has been a fantastic boon. But to kind of just step back a little bit, we were working with a third party when we started kind of doing COVID. That was really what started us into medical billing, and they were great. It was a little bit interesting to get used to. We weren't getting that sort of immediate feedback like we were on the
Right.
pharmacy
Yeah.
side. Those rejections immediately,
Mhm.
and we would find sometimes 6 months, a year later, we got a letter that said, hey, this patient you rejected, sorry, their insurance number wasn't correct. And at that point, this is somebody who came in for a COVID vaccine a year ago. I'm not going to call them up and say,
Right.
hey, do you remember me from a year ago? Can I have your
Right.
health insurance card number?
Yep.
They're going to say, no, what are you talking about? So that created some issues. Really early on when there was the HRSA program, it was a little bit easier. Folks who weren't exactly sure of what their current medical
Okay.
provider on, we
Okay.
could maybe get away with, submitting to HRSA first, getting that rejection back, and then being able to kind of work from there. But it was a really kind of unique challenge for a pharmacy that had really only had experience in pharmacy billing. As it kind of got a little bit further into the pandemic, we found a few more options. So one of them was TransactRx, which one of the fantastic sort of benefits of it, and something that was really new, was that it had real-time eligibility checks, which is huge for our pharmacy. A lot of times in the past, we would bill to a patient's Medicare Part B, and Medicare would come back say, sorry, they have Medicare Advantage plan. And for us, some patients don't know they have Medicare
Right.
Advantage plans.
Yep.
For us, this sort of back and forth guesswork of trying to figure out with a patient what kind of insurance you have,
Right.
for some folks, it was just not possible. So we would say, just give us every card you have. We're going to try to sort through it.
Yeah.
And that's inconvenient for a lot of folks. Now with kind of these new tools that we have, we're able to submit a claim to TransactRx, get back a rejection in real time that says, hey, this patient has XYZ medical insurance.
Okay.
And then go right to the patient and say, hey, you have an XYZ card. Can I have it? And they say, yeah, oh yeah, I know that card. Instead of just say, oh, you have a different card, give it to me.
Right.
A lot easier in terms of that.
So are there,
billing.
what, I wonder, Jeff, idea, and you can answer this for me. And I'm not the programming guru, but would there be some common rejection codes that pharmacists or technicians are more familiar with that go, yes, we know if this patient has this type of insurance, that we know the med billing is going to be rejected because, like you said, wrong insurance number. Well, we've got claim overrides that go, cool, this is the insurance number that you see them.
As time goes on, you'll see a deeper and deeper integration with TransactRx.
Right.
It's already light years ahead of what everybody else is doing.
Experiencing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely. Yeah. And the big thing that we had to really get used to is just the fact that these are two completely different systems, you know?
Right.
For us, when we learned, medical billing isn't done in real time, you know, that's not adjudicated in real time.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, wait, really? So we had to learn a whole new system. We had to learn a whole new way of doing things.
And what's interesting about in the medical world, a lot of medical billing is services. And they're trying to tack on more and more services. And the modus is bill $1 bazillion on a bazillion things and take what we get.
Yep.
Right. And if we get half of that, we're good. And so it's really a weird where by nature they're overbilling, they're trying to create complicated codes to overbill. And they justify that by this model that, well, I'm not going to get paid for everything. So I got to get paid the most I can for the things I get paid for, rather than having an efficient system that paid the right thing for everything. So it's an interesting world to dabble in. It's a whole new world for pharmacy who's used to seeing, boom. I mean, before the old DIR fees and things hit, we're used to seeing, here's where I am, where I am.
Right. Definitely. And that was a huge thing to have to get used to, was just this idea that you could bill for services, you could bill for the vaccine administration and the vaccine. You can, bill for this sometimes in some cases, the counseling that goes along with this. One of the sort of unfortunate realities is we do a lot of in-person counseling. We do a lot of sort of work with a patient. And if you are a medical provider under Medicare, you can bill for that time. For pharmacists, we have no such luxury. We can spend an hour with a patient, describing their medications, and we would not be able to bill a cent to Medicare because we're not considered providers in the same way that a doctor would be. So we're getting stiffed in some of these areas, and as we're kind of learning this whole new system, we're trying to figure out how we can work and how we can get the most out of it while still being within those limitations.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So you're a senior. So you haven't finished your degree. You're a senior in Central Florida.
Yeah, University of Central Florida. I will be graduating this summer, finally. So I've kind of been a little bit part-time since COVID started, but it'll be this coming summer that I graduate with health sciences.
So where do you go from there?
What's the next steps?
Well, definitely, pharmacy is kind of a direction I've had my heart in. Working in an independent pharmacy has just kind of made me fall in love with the field.
Right.
Nice.
It's expensive to go to pharmacy school, so I've heard.
Yeah, I was about to ask. So do you see yourself stepping up into the next tier, which is pharmacy school?
Not immediately, I don't think. I think for now, I'm really, really happy where I am as a technician. I find so much joy and so much kind of love in what I do in the community that I get to support. But also, there's other opportunities. I think I'm really interested in public health, working in a public health department or something like that, CDC. It's a fantastic kind of time, I think, and a really exciting time for public health kind of coming off of this post-COVID. We're not really in the thick of it where things are exciting and hectic and crazy, but we've seen kind of how, useful and how important in some cases, these public health rules are, and just how much they have a lot of impact, on the community, and especially when it comes to outbreaks and things like that.
Interesting. Would that be a Washington, D.C.? Would you be a Washington, D.C. kind of guy?
That's a little far. It's a little cold for me for my Floridian blood. But certainly, local, state, and if that's where, things headed, I absolutely wouldn't be opposed to something like that. But right now I'm keeping a little bit closer to home, maybe a little bit closer to the tropics. I'm definitely a Florida boy, born and raised, and So not quite looking to move out to the snow just yet.
Yep.
Maybe somewhere along the eastern coastline, though.
Yeah.
And there, we've got some great pharmacies there too, as far as North Carolina, Savannah, that, yeah, you would definitely get a great education and get your feet on the ground.
Yeah.
So any advice that you would offer up for pharmacy technicians today, or anybody like out of college or out of high school, like looking to get into, pharmacy technicians, what would your advice be?
Yeah, definitely. I would say for anybody who's in my position where they were pursuing a health sciences degree, maybe they didn't have a lot of experience in the medical field, but that, they know it's something that they might want to do. Being a pharmacy technician, I say hands down, is probably one of the best experiences that you can have. You are getting a lot of really great information on medical coding, on billing. You're doing a lot of work with patients. You get to sort of learn about all these different medications that are going to be very, very common in medical practice. And you don't have that really kind of high pressure that you would have maybe, say, as a nurse or a CNA or as a emergency room tech or something like that. It's a much lower key environment. And especially if you're a people person like me, it's a great way to just connect with people and to really kind of help foster a great kind of community, especially if you're doing independent work. I think that's probably one of the most valuable experiences that I've had.
All right, I got one more to add on top of that. So, in advice to anybody that's going to pharmacy tech school, what would your advice and experience be? Because you worked at a big box chain. We're not going to mention who, but what would you say that your advice or based on your experience, what would your advice be between big box chain and an independent?
I would say there's no shame and there's no harm in going in and being a part of a big corporation or a big box chain. I think the experience was great. I got to learn a lot about sort of those corporate policies. I think a lot of the kind of, CYA information of just kind of how to protect yourself and how to protect your patients. I think you get a really kind of good crash course in that in the corporate environment. And then you're getting paid while you're learning. And I think that's so invaluable for people like myself who were in school, who don't have a lot of extra, expendable income. I would not have been able to go and get a pharmacy technician from a pay-for school. It just was not in the cards.
Yeah.
So being able to work and to at the same time get that experience, to be able to get that certificate and eventually get that registration with the state, all for, on the company's dime, was absolutely invaluable. And then, once that's happened, once you've gotten your foot in the door, you have a lot of options. Independent, of course, the biggest is going to be those big chains, of course, but there's a lot of, even smaller kind of more niche positions within those chains that you can find something that you really like. It might not be independent right away. I'd say that's a very good goal, is to try to find an independent you can work at. I think it's a fantastic experience. But you're going to find a lot more opportunities elsewhere.
Nice.
It was kind of like boot camp for you. Like
you
went to the military.
Yeah,
the military
balanced,
paid for your
very
paid for your certificate,
answer. He's
your
already tried to
degree.
get into DC. So.
And now you're out. You've got your education, and now you're looking for the bigger picture,
He's
which
not
is
out yet.
independent pharmacy
He's a senior.
and new opportunities. I know.
So
He's about to be out.
tell us about summer working at Disney. Is it like they do like the dirty dancing thing at night? Is it?
Not quite. So it's exciting. I think, working at Disney, it takes away a little bit of the magic. I think, you get to see the underbelly, maybe the less squeaky clean parts of it. But I think probably everybody should have at least some experience where they're working in the thick of customer service. You learn to deal with a lot of different cultures and a lot of different, people from different walks of life. And you're helping make magic. I don't want to seem, too entranced by the pixie dust, but you really do get to make people's vacation and really kind of help it. So that was a great experience for me, and it really kind of helped break me a little bit out of my shell in terms of talking to people and interacting with people that are complete strangers.
So you were a merchandiser?
Yeah, I was about to say, what exactly was your role at Disney?
Yeah, so I did merchandise. Originally, I was working in the stores, working in one of the biggest stores actually in the parks themselves. And eventually they put me on the little carts. I don't know if you've been recently, but they have carts.
Yeah,
people,
they have the
push
little
around.
cart. Oh, the
So
push
like little
ones.
bubble wands and glowing things. So I was
Okay.
that guy who tempted your kids with bubble wands and had to build it for them and had angry parent glares for distracting their children.
Oh, I was when we were there. There's a kid. I don't know how old they were, but their bubbles had run out, and they were so angry.
Yeah.
They were really angry about the bubbles going.
Yeah. And that bubble liquid's going to be $5
Oh, yeah, for
another 30 minutes.
like a shot. Can I get a shot of bubbles for $5? It's crazy, the little containers.
Yeah, and you're stuck. You can't go in. You can't go get the big jug from the Walmart for 99 cents.
Right, yeah, you're in there.
You're buying our $10 bubbles.
Disney
Yeah,
World.
so notes to parents: sneak the big bottle of bubbles into Disney.
Exactly. They won't stop you. They'll just give you a weird look.
Give you a weird look. I brought my own bubbles. Yeah.
I'm here for the wand. I have my own
I
juice.
realized the no food and drink, but I brought my own bubbles.
Not a drink. Just try it.
I
pretty
love
good.
it. Okay.
So what's fun about a Disney cruise?
Oh gosh, what isn't fun about a Disney cruise? Disney? But it's great. It's kind of one of those all-inclusive, like you get on board and now you're just on vacation. A lot of kind of the stress I found that comes from maybe an international vacation, or one that you're going to multiple locations, is this packing, you just sort of, all right, kids, let's gather everything up, make sure we're not missing anything, and let's go to the next hotel and unpack and, do the whole thing over again. For cruise, that's it. You unpack once and you're going and kind of
That's your
seeing the
floating
world.
hotel.
So. Exactly. It's
Yeah, I think
floating-
I would like that model where I just traveled on the water at night and I was in
Yeah.
excursions during the day. I don't want to be like 2 days at sea. I'd be like,
Yeah,
I need to get out of
I
here.
was a day and a half at sea because we flew into New York and then we jumped on a boat and went from New York to Bermuda and then back to New York. But it was like a day and a half at sea.
yeah. And who in their right mind is their first sea journey is to Bermuda? I just, it still blows my mind
But
every
you
time
know,
that comes
that's
out of
the
your
one
mouth.
place they say.
I was like, where are you going? Oh, my first cruise ever. I'm going to Bermuda. Oh,
Oh,
Yep.
you hazed me so bad about
I
that
was
because
like-
I booked it at one of the number one, because Bermuda Triangle, there's 3 points. One's in Florida, and that's conveniently enough where I was talking to the travel person. I booked it, put my credit card down, and then Jeff's like, "You just booked a cruise for Bermuda at one of the points in Bermuda Triangle, and you're going to the site." He's like, "It's been nice knowing you."
yeah. It was like Arrivederci. Whatever they were,
Oh,
Bugs
good.
Bunny saying all the different ones, Bon Voyage, it's like what are all the ones I can think of. I'm not going to get to say it again.
Hey, I got to go to New York, and that's
Yeah,
one
no-
of my happy places.
No, it's beautiful. I mean, it's hard to find a place kind of in the Caribbean and kind of around Florida that's not beautiful.
Yeah.
That's true.
We're super lucky to just have these wonderful, islands in the Caribbean and all these different places, just be able to go and, I don't have to fly all the way out to Hawaii. I get to just kind of go to the Bahamas and
Yeah.
hang out there. It's fantastic. But we are really lucky in that respect. We get to have all these sort of tropical destinations right at our doorstep here in Florida.
Yeah. I feel like I still need a do-over on the cruise experience.
What was it? Was it maybe the hurricane?
There was 2 hurricanes.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. No, it was foreshadowed. Foreshadowed.
Okay.
The only thing you didn't do was sink.
We got to Bermuda. We were supposed to have 2 days in Bermuda.
Did you get on the bow and
But then they came on and they said at dinner, that was the announcement. There was letters in our room saying that we were going to be departing out of Bermuda 12 hours earlier than planned. So instead of leaving out at dinner that night, we were actually like, cool, go out, get some breakfast, go shop a couple places, but be back on the ship by 12 because we're leaving at 1. And because there was a hurricane that was coming up the eastern coast of it was coming Georgia and North Carolina and South and all that, and then coming out towards Bermuda. And then there was another one that started and was headed directly towards Bermuda. And they're like, we're leaving now.
Yes.
Yep.
We're not getting caught in that.
Yeah, no, Mark was like, and they're all prepping, right? Hey, look, both of us can fit on this door.
There's going to be no conversation.
Let's go ahead and practice. I'll let you hold on the handle part, but I
Okay,
can
this was
definitely fit
like-
on this door too.
This was September. The water had not shifted in temperature yet. He'd been fine until the boat came.
He'd be fine till the boat came. You can swim.
Yeah.
You'll be all right. I saw on TikTok a guy proving the deal. You take off your pants, right?
Yeah.
You tie knots in
You tie
both
knots
of
in the ankles.
and then you kind of bring it over so it pulls air in it, and then you I don't know how you tie the other piece.
It's what they
Oh,
treat. It's what they treat you, teach you in like Navy SEAL training. Because like,
Now I forgot the other piece. I'm going to drown.
because I watched them do it one time.
You tie the legs together. How do you get the butt part to be sealed?
I don't remember,
I guess you
but
just hold it down.
I worked at a pool in high
Yeah, I'm
school.
going to drown.
And
I got to learn better.
I worked at a
Going
pool.
home to practice
Yeah,
that
but I
one.
saw them do it because I worked at a pool in high school.
I have a pool.
And
I'm going to practice.
No, this was a big aquatics place where I was swimming instructor and a lifeguard. And on the weekends when we would have lifeguard training, there would be the military on the other end doing this training, and I'm sitting there watching these guys take their pants off in the water, tie the ankles, and I'm just like, that's wild. I never want to be that hardcore.
Yeah, I think we actually learned that trick in Boy Scouts, if I'm not mistaken. The sort
Really?
of jeans and the kind of use them as a flotation device.
Okay, so
I'd
answer
be dead
Jeff's
as well.
question. What do you do with the butt
It
part?
looked really good.
I'm dead as well. I cannot remember what you do with the
Okay.
waist.
I need retraining, like CPR. I need retraining once a month.
But one of the interesting things is
Be like, I'll be on the boat's going down. I'm Googling, how does the pant thing work?
Yeah, that's like way on your phone.
Chat GPT. What the heck do I do with my pants?
Your phone will be waterlogged by the time you get
And
an
like,
answer.
and like probably right under the bed, there's a preserver. I'm like, how do I do with my pants?
Like, first, you should have grabbed the water preserver
Yeah,
off
right.
your bed.
Yeah, Chat GPT says first grab the water preserve the preserver under your seat.
It's like, well,
Yeah.
crap, the boat's already underwater.
Yeah. Yep. Should have done that.
One of the really kind of interesting things, though, kind of going back to the hurricanes, that if you're near a port or near some place that has cruises going out, check the rates after a hurricane. A lot of these, cruise lines will have had a lot of cancellations from the incoming
Ooh.
hurricanes.
So this is great stuff here. So right after a hurricane, when the boat
people
comes
freak
in,
out and
you're checking the rates, and you can get really good
Okay.
rates.
That's the time. That's the time to look, because that's when everybody's canceling. That's when they're looking to at least try to break even on this. Because
Okay,
no matter
I
what.
see what they're doing. They're doing that last seat on the plane. Like, hey, this plane's leaving
Yeah, but there's a
next
whole
week.
lot of seats on the plane because a lot of
Yep.
people canceled because they saw the hurricane and they didn't do the math.
Yep.
Yeah. And so this is post hurricane without math.
Yes.
So kids, stay in school. Math's important.
It'll get you a good deal on a cruise one day, maybe.
And math will get you, math will get
Yeah.
you a good deal on a cruise.
if anything else.
Math and meteorology, M&M.
Okay, so I am kind of curious because we keep talking about your dad on the Disney cruise. What is his role on the Disney cruise? What does he do?
He's a little bit boring, if I do say so myself. He's in finance,
Okay.
so he's a little bit more of the bean counter.
He's
He
a
does a
money
little
man.
bit in terms of like fuel
why-
hedging.
That's why he was busy during COVID. He was trying to find some money.
Find the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, trying to make everything
Definitely.
work. He was the one
Yeah.
stressed out.
During COVID, it was entirely right. It was emergency preparedness, essentially emergency planning. What are we going to do with these ships? How are we going to make the company survive?
Right.
But in normal times, it's operations. Doing
Yeah.
fuel costs, head count, that sort of thing.
Right. Yep.
But the thing that I care about the most is the free cruises I get to go on. So that's sort of the maximum I know about his job is that he can get me for free
I'm a little
cruises.
surprised that
like-
your dad's doing Disney cruises. He works for the company. You signed up to work at the Disney park. So why didn't you sign up to work the Disney cruise ship with him?
We definitely
cool.
we have different career ambitions, I think.
Okay.
For him, but I think all of my family except for myself is very finance related. And it's just not really something I wanted to do. I could have possibly worked on board. But it's not. I think it's a little bit more ideal working on shore since I'm able to go to school while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
They're dirty dancing at night.
Yeah. But also, we just, had some very different career paths. Both my brother and my
Yeah.
mom and my dad are all kind of in the business. And I had a little bit of a different heart. I've always kind of been a medical.
Not
person.
everybody can count the money. Somebody's got to make it.
Exactly. Somebody's got to
And what does your mom
do
do?
the work. Right?
Is your mom
Mom's-
also a Disney cruise?
Originally she worked at Disney, so everybody in our family has at some point worked at Disney in some sort of capacity.
Because it's a small world after all.
It's exactly, it's a small world, and if you're in Orlando, it's Disney's world.
Oh
So-
gosh, he's gonna be singing that all day.
No, I won't do that to
Thanks
you.
for
Sorry.
that. No, you are. I know you.
But she's in real estate now, and that's
Okay.
kind of where she is, and she's very good at it, if I do say so myself.
Nice.
So we're a kind of Central Florida integrated family, I would say.
Well, Paca, This was a very fun podcast. It was nice to meet you.
It was a pleasure. Absolutely. Thank
Hope
you
to
guys
get to
again
meet
so
you
much
in
for having
person
me.
sometime.
Oh,
Maybe if you
yeah.
come to NCPA or one of those other shows. If you're
Yeah.
there, make sure you come up and say hi. And
Absolutely.
And,
Come find us.
100%. And if you guys ever come to Disney, let me know. We'll hit some rides together.
all right, yeah. Hey, we have a hookup now. All right, well, it was great. Thank you for
so
spending
much,
some time with
Parker.
us, and we
Thanks
look
for
forward to
hanging
seeing you
out with
again.
us today.
Absolutely.
All
Take
right.
care, y'all.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching the Catalyst Pharmacy podcast.
If you enjoyed today's episode,
Please like, subscribe, and follow us wherever you get your podcast.
Give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts to help us reach more pharmacy professionals like you.